Good morning, everyone. We hope you've had your Starbucks coffee already, but if you haven't, please make sure to get that.
Good job, Jason.
My name is James Arcieri. I'm with Google. I'm the Global Account Executive for Starbucks. We have an awesome panel today. We're going to be brewing up some fun conversations.
At this coffee chat.
It's actually going to be a coffee chat today. It's not a fireside chat. So we're going to actually have the guests introduce themselves. So we'll first start with Kyndra, and then we'll go with Ranae.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. I'm Kyndra Russell. I lead marketing for Starbucks, and really excited to be with all of you today and this kind of exciting week in New York.
We love having you. Ranae.
Hi, I'm Ranae Heuer. I'm the CEO of Big Spaceship, a creative agency that works very closely with Kyndra and her team. Nice to meet everybody.
So already from that introduction, you know we have some badass ladies on this panel, and I'm really excited to like I said, brew into some of the conversations we have. So we're going to first start with their journey, right? Because I think it's important to start there to understand how they got to where they are today. So ladies, first we'll go with you, Kyndra. You've had an amazing career in the marketing space. Can you share how you identified that as a passion of yours and turned that into a superpower?
Oh gosh, thank you. Well, I will say I have a son who's 18 right now and applying to colleges, and so I've been thinking a lot about career paths, and I love hearing people who are super deliberate about their career paths, but that was not me. I went to school. I found a lot of different subjects really interesting. I guess curiosity is a trait that I feel is a true descriptor of me. I'm a curious person, but I ended up continuing gravitating towards this sort of intersection of creative and analytics, I would say, or insights at the time. This was way before data or big data. And then I came out of school. I'm a first gen in my family to go to school. And there wasn't a lot of structure after coming out of school, like, what do you do? And so I was like, well, I got to get a job. That's what I got to do. I just got to go to work. And I ended up joining a hotel company, and the corporate office was in Seattle, Westin Hotels, still one of my favorite brands in the world. And there's a mentor in my career who I think just took a big chance on me. She gave me a job as a marketing manager on her team, and I learned on the ground. I learned by watching, I learned by being present, I learned by her coaching, and I learned quickly from several other leaders on that team who always said, you're going to have opportunities that come up in your career and different things that you could do. Always say you're curious to learn more. Don't ever shut the door, just say, I'd love to learn more. And so I practiced that and took a job with Starwood Hotels as they purchased Westin, and I moved to Boston to help launch SPG and worked on behalf of that loyalty program, which was really a game changer for many years. And then, from there, actually I was living out here and 9/11 happened, and there was a lot of change. A scary time, and it was time to be closer to family again. So my husband and I moved back to Seattle, and I was deliberate at that point thinking, I need to go get some digital chops. I think I need to kind of dabble in this new digital advertising side. So I went to work on agency with Avenue A. And it was an incredible experience, like a complete think tank, explosive growth opportunity. And I loved it. Pre-Microsoft acquisition, pre-Razorfish, all those paths. And then from there, actually, Starwood came back to me and asked if I would create a new team, and I could be based in Seattle, so I did it, created a field marketing team, which parlayed into a digital loyalty partnerships team. And Starbucks had called me a few times, and I always loved the brand. I've been a huge fan of this brand way before I had the honor to sit in this seat, and so it became this right intersection of the company needing a role that I thought I could really contribute in, and me being really interested to join. So I've now been with Starbucks for about 7 years. I
love that, and if I want to take a chance to summarize some of that fun aspect is always be ready and hungry, right? Because of her hunger, she was ready for when Starwood came back to you and said, we want to take a chance on you again. Yeah. So I think with everyone's careers, you always need to be hungry. You always need to be ready and open for those doors. I love that. That's such a good reminder of that. Ranae.
Okay. Mine goes way back to, this will age myself, but a commercial from 1989. It was for a Lexus, I think LS 400 maybe. And this ad had this car up on rollers, and it had champagne coupes stacked on the hood. I see you know what I'm talking about. And it was going 145 miles an hour. And of course, it's all about the features of the vehicle and what a smooth ride it is. And I was so amazed. I wanted, like, in that moment to be behind the camera to figure out how the hell they pulled that off. Like, it wasn't just putting a car on rollers. Like, there was, glasses broke and lighting had to be just right. And that really piqued my curiosity in advertising. I also am the first to go to college in my family, so it didn't really have anyone to, like, pave the way for me. And I was like, I'm gonna go into advertising. I'm gonna double down on this. I graduated. I got a job in Detroit working in auto, trying to follow my Lexus dreams, and it wasn't working on ads. It was working on the CRM team. And I remember being like, man, it's my first job in CRM. I really want to work in TV. And I was like, okay, I can move over at some point. I'll earn my stars and I'll move over to the advertising team. But I ended up loving CRM because we were using data in really interesting ways early on to figure out how to personalize messages to consumers through mailers. And it was that sort of experimentation with data that got me interested in digital. And it probably didn't, hurt that my husband was one of the cool interactive guys that was in, like, a conference room in the corner. So, I had a little insight into how websites were built and stuff. And I was so curious. So I remember I left that agency to go take a role in digital, and I remember that I was just a junior account person, but the president pulled me aside and said, Ranae, you're making a really big mistake going into digital. And I remember being like, I don't think I'm wrong.
You have the last laugh.
Yeah. And it was just this world of, like, tinkering and experimenting and taking risks, and I loved it. And I had the privilege of working on really great brands that were willing to take risks and try new things in digital, and were just pushing the limits of what was possible. And that gave me an opportunity to work with this wonderful creative leader, well-respected and well-known. Many of you may know her, Colleen DeCourcy. And she tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, I'm going to New York, you want to come? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I went to New York, and I found that moving digital forward in big traditional agencies was challenging. There's hierarchy, and digital needed to move fast. You had to go fast and try new things and experiment, and that was a little bit cumbersome in the traditional agency structure. So I had the pleasure of meeting Michael Lebowitz, the founder of Big Spaceship, and that's where I found my home. I spent 8 years there, and it's a company where culture really matters, people come first, and when you really nurture those professional curiosities like I originally had, just really amazing things happen. It's great work that we get to do with our partners like Starbucks. So spent about 8 years there, outgrew Manhattan because I had too many children. And we didn't do remote work back then, so Michael recently recruited me back, and I'm now back home, really helping now my crew really nurture those professional curiosities and do experimenting and making sure we're kind of on the cusp of new things for our clients. But it's been a really fun journey. So thank you
for that. What I just heard from these two awesome humans is they had different journeys, but similar mindsets. Curiosity, grit, the willingness to learn, willing to take chances where people weren't suggesting to go. You all went digital and people were like, nah, let's don't go digital. And I think, again, if we translate that back to your journeys as marketers and in your career, like, look on the edges, like, where are things going, and apply that. Now, if we were to bring it back to the guest of honor, Starbucks, and so one of the things I love about marketing is it's not just about selling a product, it's about building a connection. And we know Starbucks is in the business of human connection, but they had to do it on a scale, but then hyper-personalization locally. So I'd love for you to divulge a little bit more about this journey of building the human connection and how you take that on personally as the CMO.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. It really truly is an honor to sit in this seat on behalf of this amazing brand. And like I said, I've been here about 7 years, and this company is now 52 years old, and it has always been in the people business, serving coffee, and that truly has been the mindset. It is a mission-driven company, and I know and I believe many companies are mission-driven, but I think they also exist in sort of PowerPoint slides that you pull out sometimes and you look at once a year. I will say the mission is omnipresent at Starbucks, and it is how we make decisions often. When we've just gone through a body of work to modernize our mission for this moment in time, everything we've all lived through for the past 3 years of separation, what's happening in the world. And so we take the words that have always been true and we bring them present again in sort of modern language. So our revised mission is with every cup, with every conversation, with every community, we nurture the limitless possibilities of human connection. That's the mission of every partner at Starbucks. We have 450,000 partners around the world who wear the green apron. We all call ourselves partners, and that's because we are all shareholders. Every person who works for Starbucks is a shareholder. And at our size and scale, I think we have known from the very beginning, even when the company was small, is that a coffee house is where connection happens. You know, everyone's heard us refer to our stores as the third place. But the coffee house has been a place of creativity, of conversation, of first dates, of new ideas, the amount of books and scripts that have been written. It's really a house of
People
creativity.
become doctors studying in your coffee houses?
It's incredible. It's incredible. And we have such scale now by which to drive that human connection. So just some stats, and I find the stats of Starbucks fascinating. I work here every day, but we have close to 38,000 stores around the world. We serve 100 million customers a week. We have continually grown younger. The majority of our customers are Gen Z and millennial, although we serve obviously every age. And we operate in 86 different markets around the world. So when you think about that and you think about our mission, the word coffee is actually not in it. And so the product that we sell, which is beyond coffee, it is also a lot of food at this point, is the conduit to connection. So for our team, when we're thinking about ultimately our mission, we have promises that we've made to each of our different communities that we serve. So we have a promise to our partners, we have a promise to our farmers. Our promise to our customers is to uplift the everyday. And so in setting that, it gives a lot of context for the marketer to think about what might that mean. Behind that promise, we actually measure our marketing effectiveness through brand equity, customer connection scores, of course, the traditional KPIs and ROAS and the rest of it. We have 8 words, all goofily starting with the letter C, that we actually measure from an equity standpoint to say if we are uplifting the everyday. And some of those words have like tensions in them. There's convenience and connection. And there's the words craft and consistency. And these are purposefully tensions within the brand that we navigate every day. And we measure ourselves against our own performance of those words, there's a bunch of questions behind each one of them. How are we doing? Where do we have opportunity? And so as we think about message testing, as we think about marketing in traditional sense, varied channels, as we think about growing community across social channels, and as we think about the experience in the store, we're constantly looking for how we're moving connection. With that, we sell a lot of products, right? So I am also looking at how is the pumpkin platform doing right now? How are we selling PSL, Pumpkin Spice Latte, which just had its 20th birthday last week. And we talk in code, so I also watch PCCB, which is Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Its little sister that's making a really hard run. Apple Crisp Oat Milk
I love that
Shaken
one.
Espresso.
That's my favorite for the fall.
ACOSE. And a lot of this, the product has to be excellent. I was listening to the last conversation, and by no means can we drive for human connection if the product isn't where it needs to be and the product isn't excellent. And I'd also say we can't be doing that unless the product is changing, evolving to meet the customer needs. So I'll let you get to your next question. But one other thing as I think about that evolution, and a stat to share, is 70% of the beverages we sell this year will be cold, which is really pretty fascinating. Cold allows for a tremendous amount of customization. Customization allows you to personalize your experience at Starbucks. Our menu, in many ways, is suggestions, based on what we find to be a delicious finished beverage, but you can customize it however you want. That customization is another conduit, though, to connection, and we can see that over time. Customization is a billion-dollar business for Starbucks, and this next generation of customers really demanding customization, so we're leaning into it even harder, and we're ensuring now with a reinvention strategy for the company that we can deliver this customization at scale. We have to be able to support an easier experience for our partners to be able to deliver it.
I love that. I was just actually writing some notes down for that one, sorry. This leads me to my next one. Because you're handling such scale globally, too,
Yes.
you both have seen emerging trends and challenges in the industry. And so I'm going to tee it up for both of you all to share your observations in the emerging trends and challenges that Starbucks has to go through and Big Ship has also seen.
Yeah, I think, Kyndra, you just touched on it a little bit. Like, customers want more customization. They want something that's individualized to their preferences, and you're doing a great job in moving the product toward that. But I think consumers are also getting more savvy, right? They know they're inundated with messages all of the time. They know how to avoid messages, especially if we're not providing value in those messages. And so that's a lot of what we think about. How do we get around those challenges to make sure we're delivering moments or delivering content and moments that bring uplift to people's day, to remind them that uplift can be delivered with a quick trip to Starbucks, and that could be right around the corner. And that can be through meeting the customers where they are from a media perspective. Like, if linear TV isn't where everybody is anymore, let's focus more on streaming and vertical video. Starbucks has the privilege of having giant audiences. How can we deepen those connections through social or through the app or the rewards program? So that's what we're thinking about, is how to overcome those challenges and get more precise with what we're messaging into who and when.
And I have to just say to my partner, Ranae, like, I love that her team is thinking about this all day long with me, right? So I think one of the expectations of a brand of this size that holds its brand very carefully is that in an agency relationship and partnership that, I used the term yesterday, are in the mud, in the weeds with us. Like, I don't really want to know where our teams stop and start and the agency team stops and starts, because if you're working on behalf of this brand, you got to live it and breathe it every day. And I want to recognize Ranae and her team for doing that with us.
Thank you.
Do you mind, so for other people that are probably thinking about, well, I want to work with an agency, how did you establish that type of relationship right off the bat? Like, how did you get them in the mud with y'all? How did you build that connective tissue?
We went slow.
Yeah.
We started small. I think we started on a number of different smaller campaigns. I think that there has to be a lot of trust established really fast, not only trust on the ability to deliver the business results, but trust on the way that a brand that is so carefully crafted and designed for connection can go into the hands of others. And so I think we started pretty small.
Yeah, there's one project, and then it morphed into more projects, and now it's grown. Now we've been working together for 7 years. And I'd like to think that some of it is attributed to our cultural values within our own organization. Like, a lot of the things that are true. I mean, you mentioned the new brand promise and new mission for Starbucks, and it's just, for a lot of companies, just on a slide you look at once or twice a year. When we looked at it, when you rolled it out, like, we're like, oh, we have all the feels about this. Like, that's when you know something's good. And our team is very collaborative, very transparent, and I think that's what helps the agency relationship. Not, you don't know where your team begins or ends and where our team begins and ends. I think that has something to do with it too.
I want to ask a question also, again, for the audience here too, is how did y'all establish this working relationship first? Was it a cold call, or did you already have an existing relationship? Like, how'd you build the relationship with Starbucks?
Michael knows.
I don't think I actually remember. I do think we actually built pretty small. We started with a couple different projects. I don't know, maybe you called me. No, I mean, I knew of Big Spaceship, and I knew of their work, and I knew that, to Renee's point, we first and foremost make decisions on who we work with based on a belief system, and an understanding of, of course, quality of work, ability to dedicate a team.
Yep.
And, we work with a handful of agencies, but we've had a very deep and long partnership with Big Spaceship for many of those reasons.
So if I were to summarize that, if you're looking to get a customer like a Starbucks or others, make sure you're authentically share those values, because I'm pretty sure Kyndra could sniff that out if it's you're pretending to put it on the sides and whatnot, because obviously you see how well they connect. That's authentic relationships that they have at the core level. So, and not everyone's going to be the right customer for you. So I think that's a really good call out that you two are establishing here, is like how you built the rapport, how you just created the synergies there. If I was going to go into my next question, it would be around, you kind of teed it off earlier about like next cutting edge was with the data and the analytics. How is Starbucks and how is Spaceship seeing AI and ML coming to play with the scale that you're looking at today?
I mean, this is the topic, right? Always, but it's kind of always been the topic for a while. We're just using now AI at the forefront of
Gen
the
AI now,
conversation,
yeah.
right? So it's the year of mobile, it's the year of like it's all those things, right? And so, I mean, Starbucks has a massive digital presence and has been talking about its digital flywheel now for at least 7+ years, 8+ years. So I'll share with you a little bit of the way we think about it. And again, as you think about a brand with a third place that's been so much about a physical presence, we really understand that as evolving. You've got to meet their customers where they're at and with what they need. And convenience is often what a lot of customers need. So I would say from a digital presence and how we think about AI and ML, it has been first and foremost in service to convenience, personalization, getting your perfect beverage in your hand with the least amount of friction as possible while designing for connection. Those two things have to be at the forefront. We also think tremendous amount of time about how we can help our partners in the store from a productivity standpoint. How can we best ensure that we're removing tasks where it's not needed to spend more time on human connection? There's a lot that goes into building each customized beverage and making it right for the person and making sure the food is coming out at the same time, making sure that you're serving a mobile customer, drive-through. Some of our business, like over 75% of the orders originate outside the store. 50% are drive-through, plus 25% at this point are mobile order. Delivery at this point is growing double-digit this year. And we have pickup stores. We have different forms of stores, right? So thinking about all of that coming into a store and being able to process all of those transactions so that the beverage and food can be made at the right time for where the customer is arriving in the store. That's how we think a lot about how we can use machine learning. We've had machine learning embedded in our app now for years. You know, a lot of what you see in there from marketing offers that are suggesting what you buy next or stretching and giving you stars, that's all based on machine learning. And we have a tool called Deep Brew that we have built and used for a number of years in our app, and it's embedded in our digital drive-thru. What I would say as a marketer, what I find really interesting right now is just this intersection that we've been all trying to navigate, which is MarTech, AdTech tools, and the constant evolution, the constant change, the constant consolidation, the constant new, and how you have common architecture and modernized data products so that you can best use all those tools coming together. I think that remains the continuous opportunity for companies and brands of this size and scale.
I love that. Ranae, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll say like from a creative perspective, I think generative AI is unlocking, you know, so many possibilities, things that weren't possible. I mean, like right now, it just is making things more efficient. You can get to a visual concept of something much faster to gain alignment. And I'd say Big Spaceship's been around for 23 years, and we've seen lots of innovation and technology over that duration. And this period in time is no different. I think it's exciting. We're experimenting and tinkering, like I talked about earlier. But I think it's really, really important to remember two things. One, human interaction and guidance has to be a part of the process throughout, and we need transparency with our client partners, because I can't be using AI in the work that we do if Kyndra is not aware of it, because we're working with within ethical boundaries we're defining for ourselves ahead of having any real regulation around them. So that's something we're thinking about. It's evolving fast, and it's table stakes for all of us. It's a competency we all need to be building, everybody in this room. So we're excited about where it's going for sure, but you know, lots of new ground to figure out.
I love that. If I was going to plug the Google hat for a second there, one of the things I love that she highlighted was on the productivity side. One of the coolest things that I'm seeing, time is up. So I'm sorry.
It's really right. You can finish your question.
I'll finish my thought. One of the coolest things that, being the Googler representing the Gen AI space, I was recently working with another big retailer and their legal team. And a lot of their procurement and sourcing and legal write the same responses to vendors and partners regularly. And so with Gen AI, with an email, it literally will know, hey, this is what you normally respond to this type of email. It helps save so much time. And even the lawyers are like, I had no idea I talk as much. And it's making me more concise, which is that's literally what the legal team said. They're like, we love this. And then going back to hyper-personalization, now with some of these large language models that you understand like all these like different variations and permutations, it's really, really cool where you can see like maybe a couple products, but then how they could be customized into 30 different ones. And now you can start getting in better feels of those individuals. Yeah. And it reduces, go ahead.
I think we're in the space of the need for complete flexibility and agility as we learn forward. As you're saying all of this too, I'm thinking about it, and you think about the practical and pragmatic nature of what we're all dealing with today. Like we're thinking about how to deliver the business this month, how to build the brand into the next year, what we're doing for the next 3. And so I continue to use the words flexibility and agility with my team. Where and how do we carve out spaces where we can test and learn, where you're willing to take risk? You can't take risk everywhere. Yeah. And so I think as I think about partnerships with Google and others, like help us think about spaces to build, playgrounds to test, try, and take risk. When there's suggestions coming in of like, this is going to transform your whole business,
whole world.
It's like, well, yes, and we're still going to work on making sure that we're delivering
the human connection
today. That's right. So I think I'm super excited about this next space. It does feel like we're in this, we're in the middle of the next thing or the beginning. And so I don't know. I'm excited to work with rooms like this to think about it.
So if you're going to jot down your notes, today we heard about taking chances. We heard about always staying hungry and how they both were learning new fields and innovation, both being first generation college students and taking chances and the importance of mentors, right? Because they didn't have someone necessarily close to them that guided them, that took chances, always be ready for that opportunity. So I hope those are just some of the things that you take away from today. Thank you. I'm James Arcieri.
Thanks, James. I'm Kyndra Russell.
I'm Ranae Heuer.
Make sure to follow them, like their posts on LinkedIn, and all that other stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.